damming these rivers, you talk about having a highway that's going to be safe because you're going to reduce the speed. Instead of going to a town where you could go to a grocery store that takes 45 minutes, now it's going to take an hour and 15 minutes, or an hour and 20 minutes. I've ridden bikes all through France. I've ridden bikes all through America. I can tell you that until you get the trucks off of 151, and nobody's made an effort to do that yet, all we hear is, oh, you know, VDOT's not going to do that. And then you're going to become slaves to the UDCs. And you're going to have to apply everything that the federal government wants in an area. This is Nelson. We moved here because the motto of this county was keep Nelson rural. Amen. If we want to live in a city, we want to move to a city. Not this dream you have.
Right. Just a few points. This is not a federal government program, it's a state program.
Okay, it's a state program,
I'm just
state deal. The state program is dependent upon also working with the federal government. We've seen these things all around here. If there's 50% of the state, then it's going to be 50% of the federal government. Then you're going to have to follow what this one says, what that one says, depending upon who's going to be in power at the time. Why don't you just leave it up to the people who live here?
No community.
Because I'm telling you, we don't want interference either from the state government or from the federal government. I'm tired of people coming here saying, you know what you need in this area? We just love it here, but you know what you need? You need a library down the street. You need a shopping center over here. Let's put a movie theater over here. Horse shit's all of that.
I have something to say about that. There are numerous people who I've been hearing saying, this is the first I've heard about this. Nothing is, this is not what we want. But the bottom line is, if you want the supervisors to hear your voice, you have to show up at the meetings. There are a few people here that I have seen regularly at the Planning Commission meetings, and I have seen them regularly at the Board of Supervisors meetings. And many times it's just the 6 of us, unless it's something that impacts you personally, and then the knickers get in a knot and they show up at the meeting.
Could that be because you're having quiet meetings that you don't really discuss
The meetings
anymore?
are on the website.
We do
They're
not see those
regularly.
meetings
I'm
being
talking.
on the website.
I am talking.
You're all welcome to have
They
discussions
are,
amongst each other.
but the point is, anybody in here can attend those meetings. Come to the meetings.
Well, if it's
I don't have, I have some of your opinion, I have some of the other opinion, but the bottom line is show up at the meetings.
Well, if it's something that significantly impacts the community, then the community should be informed that this is a meeting that everyone should go to. Just like this meeting tonight, I heard about it 2 or 3 days ago from someone walking down the road and saying, this is going on. That's not how that should happen. We should be getting something in the mail saying this is happening.
That's right.
Before the next question.
Every new agribusiness that built is generating conflicts. It's also generating revenue. We should call this the revenue road. That revenue that comes from these new businesses can be put back into fixing some of the problems that we have. Not for 20 years out, fix them now. Last thing I have to say is, why is the master plan going to be completed before the VDOT study is completed?
I asked that question myself. I contacted Rick Youngblood, who's the head guy at VDOT that's overseeing that. And I told him that my understanding was, from previous discussions, was that that was going to be directly incorporated with the comprehensive plan. And he said that timing-wise, that probably wasn't going to happen. There will be more public input on the 151 corridor stretch.
Can you slow down the master plan process until the VDOT study is done?
That may be possible.
Well, not just
I mean,
possible,
I would have to say yes.
it would be advisable.
Yeah. So, what I would, I'll make a recommendation. things that have to do with traffic, there are things that we can put in front of VDOT, and many things have been put in front of there, and nothing has really borne fruit to deal with some of these problems.
Residents of Nellysford. I did not talk with the businesses or any of the two Airbnbs in my area, because I don't have their, only contact info. I did stop by the homes from the ice cream stand on 151 down to the entrance of Stony Creek. All the homes were on Route 151 within the designated Nellysford area, as I know it to be. Most of the homes were on the opposite side of the shopping center. I'm not sure which direction that, but we're all on the opposite side of the shopping center. But all directly face 151. From these visits, I learned some interesting commonalities with each household. Most were elderly, over 60 or more, with at least one person fully retired in the household. They were long-term residents of Nellysford for decades, had no plans of ever leaving those family homes. They were upset that for many, this was the first they had heard anything about changes potentially coming to the area and what those changes were. None, there's a lot of rumors out here, none were in favor of low-income housing projects in this area. A lot concerned that their voices no longer matter to the county. And I was asked, why was I doing what Ernie Reed or the county should be doing, coming to their houses and talking with them, since these changes will impact them the most? I couldn't answer that. Some of these residents are here tonight, some of them you've heard from. Some due to health reasons could not come. I explained to each household to come and hear what I represented directly, whether or not they're in favor of support of any changes, to come and hear directly from you. That it was important to hear what plans are being discussed, as I also had questions and hear a lot of rumors. I've personally seen surveyors months ago on Route 151 across the road from my home in Nellysford. When I spoke with them, I was told they were hired for potential water sewer line to be run from Stony Creek up to the area of Beach Road. They assured me it was on the other side of the road, not my side. I know that the Three Knots Brewery recently opened, and prior to their opening, they've already installed sewer lines in place for a future hookup. Where are they getting that information for potential hookup in place? I've also learned that a developer that owns land on both sides of Route 151 in Nellysford plans on a large-scale development for, quote, low-income housing that nobody can define.
Yeah.
As he has informed the current families, they will need to be out come the first of the year. One family I spoke with says they don't know what they will do. When plans like urban development area designation are being discussed and proposed by elected officials, those that benefit the most appear to be the elected officials and the developers. Those making these decisions never live in the impacted area. Most don't even talk, or it appears don't care about the current president. And some only look for the guaranteed money that comes from these programs. It's easy to look at a table of maps and land addresses and point to where someone can say, I can tear down that house and put 10 apartments in right there if the county approves this or that. Studies can even validate that argument. But both never consider the human element of the direct impact it has on the people that have lived there most of their adult life. I looked into their eyes as human beings, not as dollar signs or for any kind of political ambitions. Nellysford is not designed to become Old Trail. Right. Most people that come to the Nellysford area either move here to get away from the city life, they rent Airbnbs to enjoy the country atmosphere, or it's for financial business investment. So I have a few questions for you to think about. A lot of people, you don't have to, I'll let you off, you don't have to answer them tonight. But you've already touched on the VDOT study. I was the president there. At some point, I'd like to know, where do you stand as our representative on these changes in our area? And why is this timeline such a rush? Why can't you kind of pump the brakes? Because a lot of these people I talk to that live along that corridor, within another decade, you're not even gonna be sitting here today, probably. That's just a fact. And so there seems to be a rush right now, and I don't know whether it's to get guaranteed monies or if you're in competition with other counties, but the main concern that I came back with those commonalities. I hope you keep that in mind along that stretch of the people that live on 151, not in a gated community, not in a business. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll address one thing, is two. As far as low-income housing, affordable housing goes, and the way that impacts the local community, talking about speaking with people who live there, have lived there for decades, I'll say there's an element of survivorship bias in that the people that you didn't speak to again, talking about data, and saying that doesn't incorporate the human elements, and I would say that as a researcher, qualitative or talking to people has its merits and benefits in that you are getting the sentiments and the input and the values of those who are in the area.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sure. Sorry. So again, intent and values coming from people who do live there. The qualitative data is very important. It is taken into consideration. But where that quantitative data that you're saying is, inhuman and uncaring comes in is that it takes into account all of the data from individuals who don't get to have their say. There's a small fraction are in this group, sir. And I'm going to say that I will speak bluntly. The average income of those who live in Nellysford is over $100,000 a year. Those who live in Livingston, the average income is $15,000 a year. There are many different demographics of that population.
We're talking about Nellysford right now.
We are, but the plan to impact the county as a
You're
whole.
adding Wintergreen into that. You take Wintergreen out. We grew up in Nellysford. We were here when Wintergreen came in.
And we live here. I'm part of that.
Okay, but you can't say the average income is $100,000. When you're talking about Wintergreen, who are mostly retired.
For primary households, yeah. For
You gotta
primary
talk about
households,
people
that
that-
counts.